Well, welcome, Jeff, to WG Content's Unscripted. It's so good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Kirsten. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So, Jeff, his last name is not Steblea for anyone out there that might pronounce it that way. It's Steblea. So, we just had a fun conversation about how my name is mispronounced, misspelled. His name is often mispronounced. So, we're going to clear the air. It's Steblea, right?
It's Steblea. Yeah, very
Steblea.
Romanian. And if you have this last name and you live in the States, you're related to me.
Yeah. Well, that
That's
would
how
be
rare it
interesting to
is.
find out. Maybe we'll have to put out some sort of PA about that. Well, Jeff is the VP of Growth, right? Is that the title, official
VP of Growth
title?
Solutions is
Growth
actually
Solutions
technically the
for
title. Yeah.
Unlock. We've known each other for a few years, but we were just chatting before we hit the record button about our industry and all of the change and all of the just everything that's going on in our industry. And so I wanted to ask and maybe just kick off we're not really here to talk about work, but I did want to just hear your perspective. Like, how do you keep your wits about you and how do you keep things in perspective as you certainly are in the throes of a lot of change and growth and kind of in the epicenter of all the things that are going on. So
It's a good question, and I have a very obvious answer because in some ways I had an opportunity to get greater perspective in life because
yeah.
I actually had a huge health event a couple of years ago. I had a heart attack.
Hmm.
And so I think most people know this about me if they know me. I'm certainly an open book with all things. But yeah, it's actually kind of a funny story because it is related to work in the sense that I was supposed to be heading to a conference this morning. It was like a
Okay.
Saturday in November 2023. I think it was HCIC that was in LA. And I woke up that morning and I just had left arm pain, but it just felt muscular. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like anything that you'd ever associate with a heart attack.
Hmm.
And so I was like lying in bed. I'm like, oh man, I must have slept wrong or something. What did I
Hmm.
do? And part of my morning routine is to do the Wordle. So I was like
Oh,
sitting there trying
okay.
to do the Wordle, and I'm like distracted by how much pain I'm in. So
Hmm.
I was like, sort of got up angry and sort of took two Tylenol, got back in bed, finished the Wordle. Got it in four, by the way, during a heart attack. So I take that as a win.
That is a
Um,
win. That's a win on a normal day sometimes.
I like to do three or better. So I was just sort of like figured I did something wrong and I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I've got a long travel day today, so I jumped in the shower and I put like the shower head on like the massage setting, I was like pounding my back, my shoulder. And I was like, maybe, once I get to the hotel, I could find like a masseuse or something to like work this out because this is like
Yeah.
something really wrong. And
Yeah.
as I was in the shower, that then suddenly the pain radiated to my chest. And had just enough time to think like, this can't be that, right?
Right.
When then I got dizzy and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out. So I jumped out of the shower. I took two aspirin, which we had right there in the bathroom, thank God, and called 911 or had my wife call 911. And so they come and they were like the best EMTs ever, super sweet. And I'm like sitting in my living room. They hooked me up to everything, the EKGs and everything. But here's the thing, I pass every test. I passed the EKGs. Everything looks completely normal. So I was like, okay, nice to meet you, fellas.
Hmm.
Thanks. Have a good day. And they were like, yeah, no, again, that's not how it works. Like now we have to take you to the hospital for evaluation, greater evaluation, et cetera. And I was like, oh man, are you kidding me? Like I'm gonna miss my flight now. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And they wouldn't even let me walk out of the house. They were like, you have to go out on the stretcher. I'm like, oh, this is just embarrassing at
Wow.
this point, right? So I've got like
Okay.
an ambulance in my driveway with the lights. They're carrying me
Hmm.
out on a stretcher. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
just it's so embarrassing. I begrudgingly cancel my flight in the back of an ambulance, Kirsten. Like that's how much I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh, this
gosh.
is so annoying. But I don't
Yeah.
cancel my return flight because I'm still thinking, I'll get there tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
This is like a
Of
minor
course.
inconvenience. So I
Yeah.
just cancel my flight on the way there. And we get to the hospital, which is only a few minutes from where I live. But it's like a feeder hospital, so they don't have everything there.
Hmm.
But they're bringing me out of the ambulance into the ER, and that's when I had like the second really painful attack. But
Hmm.
this time I was hooked up to the EKGs. So they had the presence of mind to be like, stop moving them, get a good reading, which felt interminable in the moment. But and then the guy leans in, he goes, "Yeah, this is the big show. You're having a heart attack. Like we're gonna take care of you." And I was like, "Oh my God." So they like got me into the hospital, stabilized me, and then it was lights on and ambulance ride down the highway to the cardiac ICU. And within 3 days I had a stent. obviously I'm doing well. I did cardiac rehab. I take my meds. I take care of myself, etc. But if I hadn't have taken the aspirin and called 911, I wouldn't be here. And somebody really said something to me that was interesting. Like, we do the health risk assessments at Unlock.
Mhm.
And I sell them all the time. I never take them. I've never taken them. I've
Yeah.
never taken like a heart risk assessment, right? And the one of the guys who like helped create them said, what the number one symptom of a heart attack is? It's death. And I was like, that's so crazy. Like it's such a
Wow.
crazy thing, and that is why they say it's the silent killer.
Yeah.
But now my perspective is like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen?
Hmm.
Like if we bomb this meeting or like I
Right.
make a mistake,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. And I
Right.
think that allows me to show up as a leader, as very patient, as
Yep.
very sort of calm and calm port in the storm in a lot of ways, right?
Hmm.
When other people are running around with their hair on fire, I'm able to be like, okay, well, what's our next step? How are we going to handle
Yeah.
this? Let's just everybody remain calm, kind of a thing.
Yeah. The fact that you said the number one symptom is death, that people are, it is the silent killer, and it's being ignored. I mean, what would you tell people to pay attention to? Because I can appreciate your story about, like, I had this pain and I thought it was just a normal pain. And then I got dizzy. Like, you dismiss everything. So, like, how do you know when to dismiss and when to take action?
So I'd say like I do think the health risk assessments and knowing your family history, those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things are crucial. As far as knowing when to escalate or ask for help, better safe than sorry, honestly.
Oh, for
Like,
sure. Yeah.
and so I do think like a lot of people. Actually, I even forgot that thing. When I asked my wife to call 911, she actually stopped for a second and she was like, "Should we just call like an advice nurse first?" You know? And I was like, "No, we're calling 911." But I do feel like, and same thing with me trying to call off the paramedics, right? It's like I don't want to
Right.
put anybody out.
We
I
don't
don't
want
want
to
to be the
bother
person who's
anyone.
I don't want to
Yeah.
bother anyone. I don't want to waste anyone's
Yeah.
time if this is not
No.
serious, but that's literally what they're there for, and it's okay. It's okay to be
Yeah.
wrong. But it's so I would just say if you're really that concerned, don't ignore
Yeah.
it because ignoring it is the worst thing you can do.
But clearly you're managing it. So you talked about meditation. I mean, what are some of the best practices that you've learned or that you do, or your daily kind of meditation approach?
Yeah, that's a good question. Personally, the one that works for me that I do is the TM, the Transcendental
Oh, yeah, I've
Meditation,
heard about
where I actually
that.
took a class and had somebody give me a mantra
Yeah.
and um, and you're technically supposed to do it like twice a day, 20 minutes each time, but that's a lot of time. And I don't often have that amount of time. So I call
Yeah.
it a win if I do it as part of my morning routine. And it's
Yeah.
kind of a level set for me. So I just sort of like before I start my day, I just,
Yep.
sit upright and kind of do my mantra. And the thing I like about TM is like you're not trying not to think. Like it's okay to have thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And you just accept the fact that you have thoughts.
Yeah.
And then you try to stop it, and then you turn to your mantra to
Yeah.
to stop you from having the thoughts. And then when you transcend, it's when you're neither thinking thoughts nor the mantra, which is pretty rare for me. But when you get that, you get this very like it's almost like getting a great night's sleep, but you're getting it in 20 minutes. And again, I think it makes me a better father, it makes me a better employee, it makes me
Yeah.
better at everything because again, it
Yeah.
allows me to show up with greater patience and
Yeah.
resilience.
I'm gonna look into it. I think I've practiced meditation, but not the TM, and I think it's interesting practice for sure.
Yeah,
And not
it
easy
works
to
for
not
me.
yeah, and not easy, but I think something that we can all benefit from, and especially people in positions that are a couple things, but the ones that are in positions with a lot of expectations and things around them, but also types of people that are, like, you're a high achieving type individual, right? You're very goal driven and you're in a growth position, and so what comes with that is a lot of energy, and finding
Yeah.
ways to calm that energy is so important. So I've heard you share that before, and I just want to say that I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thanks.
And I know everyone feels that way about you. So, and I hope everyone takes the lessons too from what you've experienced as you share that with everyone.
I know a lot of people who've bought aspirin since this
Oh,
happened
I
to me.
believe it. Yeah, absolutely.
They
All
have
right.
that bottle of aspirin handy now.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we're gonna ask a couple of questions to get to know
Let's
you
do it.
even better. Tell me about your childhood.
Childhood. Oh my gosh. I grew up, I did most of my growing up in Connecticut. I think the first
Oh,
four or
okay.
5 years we moved all around because my
Yeah.
dad was in sales too, and just kept getting transferred from place to place. But he eventually made it to the big leagues, which was New York City. And
Oh,
so we lived in a, Connecticut suburb, and
yeah.
like I grew up in that sort of commuter, culture of like everybody took the train
Mm-hmm.
into the city for work and then took the train home at night. And um, but yeah, I was the third of three kids, so older brother, older sister, and I had the classic Gen X childhood, It
Yeah.
was like sort of latchkey kid, lots of freedom.
Yeah.
Here's your dirt bike, be home
Yeah.
for dinner, or when
Be
it gets
around your
dark.
neck.
Yeah. And I mean, I was safety patrol. I was like an 8-year-old, and I was like alone
It's
safety patrol,
hilarious.
like helping little kids cross the
Yes.
street on like
Yeah.
these like deserted streets, right?
Yeah.
And like that would never fly now.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I was always an entrepreneur and everything. Like my first job, I created my own magazine and I sold it at my elementary school.
No way.
I called it
Tell us.
Kids Magazine, and I wrote every article, but I wrote every article under a different name. And I would do all the
That's
illustrations and
remarkable.
everything, and
Yeah.
then I would sell them to my friends and all the people in my classes, which is
How long
ridiculous.
did you keep that going? I mean, that's a lot of effort. That takes a lot of work to do
I
that.
did it for a couple years, I think. I did it for like fourth and fifth grade. And it was just one of many kind of ideas like that I would do. I would just like start these projects
I love
or,
that.
put bands together, put on shows, like do
You've
I
always
was just
been a
always
creative. Yeah.
I just always loved doing stuff like that. But I did also love the hustle of it too. I loved like unlike a lot of like artists and
Yeah.
musicians, like I liked booking gigs. I liked being
Yeah.
successful. Like I liked working the phone and like doing those things. So it's
Yeah.
funny at the time, you don't realize that's a marketable skill. You're just doing it
Yeah.
because you're passionate about it. And it's like, oh yeah, but that's just what I like to do.
Like, were you in a band? Because you play an instrument, don't you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
played in several bands over the years and I play a lot of instruments. Yeah, I've done all kinds of things in that world too,
Yeah.
which is also, I think, another way that helps me be better at everything else in my life because again, I
Yeah.
kind of have different parts of my brain I use.
Yeah.
So, and when I do take the time to like have that creative life, use my brain in a different way, I do show up better at every other part
Yep.
of my life.
Yeah. And I think it's finding the discipline to allow yourself to have space for that creativity. Because I
Yeah.
think when you are so busy and you are doing things that can get lost, that kind of
Oh yeah.
open, I don't know, space for creating. So you talked about like what you were passionate about as a kid with this magazine and bands and your childhood. What are you passionate about today? Anything come to mind? I know a few things I know about you that you might be passionate about, but what would you what would
Yeah.
you
I
say?
mean, again, anyone who knows me is gonna say Tiki.
Yeah.
I love and I think because you were talking earlier about like being in a growth position and sort
Yeah.
of like again the amount of like sort of energy and like intensity and that
Hmm.
sort of thing. So again, it's what I loved about sort of discovering tiki bars and tiki drinks and things like that is it's just ridiculous. It's just so fun
It's the
and
best.
silly. And it's a wonderful way to blow off steam,
Yeah.
when so much of your life is like boom, boom, boom. It's hard to take yourself or anything too seriously when
Hmm.
you've got like a tiki mug with a bunch of
Hmm.
fruit and things
Hmm.
hanging out of it, or it's on fire and
Yeah.
and you're having fun and it's
Or
like
it's
this
like
is a
bright
nice
blue and
yeah.
it's like
And
yeah.
but that was a weird thing where like I'd always kind of loved that stuff, but the thing that threw it into overdrive for me was I was on the Shishmid board and we
Okay.
would meet. So for those who don't know, that's Society for Healthcare Strategy and Market Development, which is one of the membership groups of the AHA. AHA headquarters was in Chicago.
Hmm.
And I'm a big believer that like I travel a lot for work. And I always thought like if you travel a lot for work, you owe it to yourself to do other things. Like you have to
Hmm.
find a way to do something fun. You can't
Hmm.
just be in an airport, a conference room, and a hotel room, right? So
Hmm.
I would always try to carve out a little time to either just
Good
have a good
philosophy.
right? Have a good
Yeah.
meal, go to a record
Yeah.
store, or like, find a cool,
Yeah.
do some
Yeah.
sightseeing if you
Hmm.
can. So I would always find these little things to do. And Chicago was really known for its base. It is really known for its like basement speakeasy bars, right? So I was like, okay, every time I go to a board meeting, the night before, I'm going to go to a different like basement speakeasy bar. And it just so happened the first one I picked was what I now know is a famous tiki bar in Chicago called Three Dots and a Dash.
Okay.
And I went there with Dean Browell, who you know
Okay.
as well,
Yeah.
and we were on the board together. And
Yeah.
we walked into that basement and we were just transported into this other world. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is amazing. And no other bar lived up to that. So then I just started looking for other tiki bars.
Yeah.
And turns out there are quite a few. And then it's like any rabbit hole. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, now I want to like collect some of these mugs and come home with some of these mugs,
Hmm.
because they would have these sort of limited edition
Hmm.
mugs made by artists for the bar.
Hmm.
And then I was like, okay, well, now I want to learn how to make the drinks. And then so now I like know how to make the drinks as well. And I've got a whole like tiki shelf of like
Oh
recipes.
my
So
gosh.
it's a little ridiculous, but it is a fun rabbit hole to get into. And if it's like a Friday night, I'll sometimes like Slack my team at Unlock and be like, hey, here's your Friday night cocktail. And I'll give everyone a recipe for like a tiki cocktail or something that I'm
Yeah.
planning to make myself
Yeah.
that weekend. And if they want to make it, they can. But like, it's just a nice way to unwind and like, again, sort of like let all that energy kind of dissipate
Yeah.
and just
I've been
relax.
to a few tiki bars and I completely understand what you're saying. At the next conference, you guys need to hand out like cool tiki mugs with your brand on it or something.
I love that you said that. Let's make that happen. I want to bring that to marketing.
Everyone will talk about it. Everyone will remember that it's tied to you. You are so much, tied to the company. You could have this really cool tiki mug with the brand on it or something. I don't know.
That would be
I
fun.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, I love that. And I want to go to a tiki bar. I don't think we've been to other bars
No.
together over the years, but we'll have to go to a tiki one.
We were at the karaoke bar though, which is probably a close second favorite thing for me
How
to
many
do.
karaoke bars have we been to? Piano bars, karaoke bars, that always seems to be the go-to at every conference.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's fun because again, you get to see a side of people you don't usually see.
Yeah.
And I think, like when you're
Yeah.
out with like, clients and partners and friends and it's like it's fun to see people get up and do something and you're like, I
Yeah.
didn't know that about them. I didn't know they liked that song. I didn't know they could sing or I didn't know they were that
Yeah.
funny or
Yeah.
because again, you know people through a very specific
Yeah.
lens. So I love those things that are very experiential.
Yeah. I do too. And I've met just like the greatest people
Yeah.
in this space, in this industry, made so many good friends. So I think we only have time for maybe two more questions, but one I want to ask you, so you've arrived, I feel like, in this place of like you've had these health events and you've had a lot of change in your career and all these things. How do you impart all of this great wisdom to others? Do you have a way that you can teach and coach and inspire others? Because I feel like you've really taken your life lessons and internalized them, but like, how do you pay it forward?
That's a really good question. I do love mentoring people, not just managing people. And, so like
Mhm.
I obviously do mentor and coach my team, but even outside of my specific team, like I would mentor people through Shishmid and these kinds of things. And
Yeah.
I do love doing that, especially because like I didn't get a mentor until very late in my
Hmm.
career. Like I was like 40 before I found a good mentor.
Hmm.
And that was Christine Gallery, who was the chief strategy officer at Emerson Health. And I
Hmm.
think you did know Christine.
Hmm.
She was very
Hmm.
memorable.
Yeah.
And she was one of those people who saw something in me before I saw it in myself, right? She
Yeah.
was like recognized sort of like my natural leadership abilities and really kind of
Hmm.
pushed me to get more involved in the industry outside of just like my day-to-day work and it was just so awesome to have
Hmm.
somebody kind of see you and push you
Hmm.
in that way.
Hmm.
And my thought coming out of that experience was, I want to do that for people. Like, and I don't want them to have to wait until they're 40
Hmm.
to get good advice and have like a good mentor and stuff. So if I can jumpstart somebody else and get them, if I
Hmm.
can like impart life lessons that took me a long time to learn, like 20 years in the industry to learn,
Hmm.
and I can give it to them sooner. I mean, there's to some degree you can't leapfrog experience, but you
Hmm.
certainly can help. And so that's what I love to do. It's just, and I do think it is just sort of like understanding that you have that perspective and that experience
Hmm.
of like seeing where somebody's at and understanding kind of where they need help or
Yeah.
what raw materials are there and how you can help develop them.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
always say to my team, like lean into your strengths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because authenticity is so important. And I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the biggest turnoffs is when people are trying to pretend they're something they're not.
Mm-hmm.
People can tell the energy's not there. The energy doesn't match with what you're saying or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, I am always like, lean into the parts of you that are your strengths and your fully
Mm-hmm.
authentic self. Show up as yourself. Now, you do still have to know all of your stuff, right? You have to do a
Right.
good job and you have to do all these
Mm-hmm.
things, etc. But like find a way to always make it yours,
Mm-hmm.
find a way to bring yourself to it. And then it's also just like makes it more enjoyable, right? To show up every
Yeah.
day at work, like being
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
and with some confidence that you have something to add,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you have something, and it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I've hired a lot of people much younger, much earlier in their careers than me that I learned from too.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say that to them too. You're
Yeah.
a set of, fresh eyes.
Yeah.
You probably know things I don't know. You have different experiences than I've had. Just
Mm-hmm.
because you're new, yes, I'm going to teach you some things,
Mm-hmm.
but I also want to hear from you. Like, what are we missing? What should we be
Mm-hmm.
doing differently? Like, challenge us. And
Yeah.
I think that that is really helpful too, because it gives people permission to
Mm-hmm.
really kind of bring themselves to work. And guess who benefits from that? Everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
And I think that does take some coaching and encouraging because you have what they call it your soft skills and your hard skills. Like you have your subject matter expertise and your experience and your expertise, but like the confidence to come forward and the way to communicate and how to present yourself and showing up authentically. Can I say the word authentically?
yeah,
Is more of that, you need a coach and you need a leader and you need somebody that allows and inspires and empowers that. Um, and the more comfortable you become with that, right? You just it can't just rely on the competencies. You really have to have
right.
those soft skills, and those are harder. Like those are really
Those
hard
are
to
harder. And I
master.
think if all else is equal, people like to hang out with people they like, right? People like to buy from
100%.
people
Yeah.
they like. People like to
Yeah.
work with people they like.
Yeah.
So if everything else is equal,
Yeah.
like, at the end of
Let's
the day,
enjoy
or
each
feels
other's.
that way at the end of the day,
Hmm.
you're going to pick the person that, like, I wouldn't mind working with this person because
Yeah.
I just really enjoy them, you
Yeah.
know?
Because you can work through whatever because you trust each other, you like each other. There's, respect there, all of those things.
Yeah.
Well, last question, and we'll wrap up. And that's just, I guess, kind of like a what's bringing you joy these days. You talked about your tiki bars. And tiki bars
Um,
and music. I know I just copied one of your playlists one
oh yeah, that's
Sunday.
right.
I was
That's
like, I saw
awesome.
you posted it on, I think, Facebook, and I was like, and so then I downloaded it. It's a really good one.
I
So
love that.
what's bringing you joy these days?
I mean, those are good answers, but really the biggest answer is my daughter. Like, so we, I she lives with me every other week, and when she's here with me, we just have an absolute blast. Like, she brings so much energy into my life, and she's
Hmm.
hilarious. She's got a big personality, and she's
I got
funny.
to meet her at
I know you
Neshco.
did, yeah,
Yeah.
at Neshco. Yeah, that's great.
Remind me her name.
Echo.
That's right. I was like, she has a very cool name. Yeah. And
Yeah,
Echo
and
is what, 14?
she's 15 now.
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always joke she's 15 going on 25. She's
Yeah.
very, very precocious, very mature for her age. Sometimes I'm like, why do you even know about that? Like, you should not know about that. You're 15.
Yeah.
But she's also just really hilarious and smart and funny and
Yeah.
creative. And I just feel like and one of the great things about kids, right, is like same thing with that slowing down and being
Hmm.
present. Like when I have to be there for her, there's nothing else for me to do but be there
Hmm.
for her, right? If I've got to
Hmm.
get her to school on time or get her to that doctor's appointment or
Hmm.
help her study for midterms, like it calms me because it's
Hmm.
like there's nothing else to do right now except this. This has to
Yeah.
get done. When you're spending time with each other in these little moments is when you learn a
Hmm.
lot about each other. Like
Hmm.
it's like don't stare directly at the sun. Like don't ask a kid how their day was, right? Like
Right.
what's going on with you these days? How are you
Hmm.
feeling or whatever? You're going to
Hmm.
get monosyllabic answers,
Yeah.
right?
Huh.
But
Yeah.
if you go for a drive and
Yeah.
you're just hanging out or you're going shopping
Yeah.
together or
Yeah.
whatever, suddenly it all comes out, unbidden. And I know
Yeah.
everything. I know about
Yeah.
all of her friends, what's going on with her friends and their
Yeah.
boyfriends and
Well, you're a
classes
smart
and
dad. You're
teachers.
figuring out, yeah, how to create the right circumstances and environment for those good conversations. And I think,
Yeah.
as our kids get older, mine are 21 and 23 now, but like that when they start to get older and those like teen years or whatever, it's like the relationship changes a little bit. I was just talking to actually Jeremy Rogers from IU Health. He was on one of the last
Right.
IU or Unscripted, and we were talking about our kids and how like then it starts to grow into a relationship of like they kind of become your friend. You still
Yeah,
are a parent, but you're balancing it with a little bit of a friendship too. That is just so like they're my boys are like some of my favorite people to hang out with. And
that's
it's like
awesome.
you just kind of graduate to that, right? You know, they become adults, young adults, and then adults, and it's just a neat relationship that changes over time. Yeah. Well, I think we have probably, I don't know, maybe spent more than time than we should have, but I'm so glad we did. It's been
Thanks for
such a
having me.
pleasure chatting with you, and I know we'll do it again, and we'll always stay in touch. So, what are you? I'm sure I'm going to see you at conferences, right? Like you'll be
Yep.
at
I'll be at
all the
Summit
things.
and Salt Lake and
Yeah.
Neshco and which is in Burlington, Vermont. And
Yeah.
so is there anything else this spring? I forget.
Like the
I know I'm going to those
Mashmen.
two. I don't
Yeah.
think I'm going to Mashmed, but
Okay. All right.
we'll have people there, just not me.
Yeah.
I don't.
Your peeps are everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. You can't get away from us.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. Take
Thanks,
care.
Kristen. I
Bye bye.
appreciate it. Take care.